guys, we're going to talk about contest prep dieting, question and answer series for the month of August. This person wants to know what makes for a successful reverse diet. And I think, first of all, let's not call it a reverse diet. Let's call it a recovery diet, because that's the goal. That's priority number one. We want to get back to making gains. And why is it that we can't make gains? I mean, 1 week after getting off stage, 2 weeks. In the case of most folks, it's going to take a few weeks, months to actually get to that point where we can actually start taking steps forward again. So we're going to call it a recovery diet. So let's talk about what makes for a successful recovery diet. And just one more thing before I get going on this. If you're not competing, then there's absolutely no reason for you to visit those contest levels of those extreme levels of contest conditioning. Okay, first of all, it's going to make you feel fat for the rest of your life, and also it's again, you're going to be dealing with a big long recovery phase that in the long run, if you're not competing, it's just going to slow down your progress. So again, if you're not competing, you have no business getting to those contest levels of freaky leanness that we see. Okay, so let's get a talking about this, and I think we're going to start with the fact that priority number one, again, it's a recovery diet. We want to get back to a position where we can actually start making gains again. So yes, we want to get back to our hormonal baselines, back to where I guess you can consider ourselves physically normal. And under that, I put, undo a lot of the psychological trauma. And I put it afterwards, not because it's less important, but usually because the mental stuff, all that fog doesn't really clear up until we take care of the physical stuff. This is the last thing to come, all right? So even when we get to the point where we're recovering just as quickly as we were at the top end of our off season, we're hitting all kinds of new PRs, sometimes other things, such as the food focus, or the whole feeling fat, that kind of stuff tends to linger a bit longer. So again, this one's probably more important than that, but the issue is that, again, the mental stuff won't clear up until we've kind of achieved what is hormonal homeostasis for our body. Okay, so how do we get this done? And again, it's going to be a list, and I'm going to tell you, wow, well, it's that easy. But the truth is, a lot of folks have a harder time during this phase, a much harder time than they did during those really, really hard weeks of their contest prep diet. So, and we'll get into all that. So it's very easy to explain. It's very easy for me to just tell you what to do or what our main objectives are. But executing this, totally different story. Okay, back to the board. As I wrote this list, I think I'm going to start down and build back up. It makes a lot more sense this way. So we'll start with if you goof up, because you know what? It happens. I think I've yet to have a reverse diet where I can say that, man, I was pretty freaking flawless. Let's see. In the first time I competed, I think I shot up like 10 pounds in a month, which for me is a freaking, it's a boatload. So I shot up about 10 pounds in my first month. And then this last time I competed, I think I went on vacation to New York for a week, and all I did was eat out the whole time I was there. And yeah, they've never quite been perfect, but every time I did goof up, I think one of the reasons that, at least from an outsider's perspective, it looked flawless is because when I goof up, I just hop back on to what I was doing. I don't try to diet anymore, because what ends up happening if you try to hop back on the diet well, you're kind of taking steps back when it comes to these right here, and you're doing so to, again, maintain a body fat that is not normal, right? That your body just is not happy with. And if anything, again, it puts your body in this panic mode, this very uncomfortable state of being. And again, you're just spending more time here, and quite often, again, we don't get any closer to by starting a diet again to fix what we did. We don't get any closer to establishing again our personal hormonal homeostasis, but we can make for some more psychological trauma. So if you goof up, just hop back on the plan. It didn't happen, and as I like to say, just take an amnesia pill. Never happened. Okay. So moving on. Sorry for the glare. So don't go too fast. Don't go too slow. Because again, a lot of this is about how far removed you are from the psychological trauma. And then if you go too slow, where you're just going to be spending way too much time below what is, again, the lower end of your set point, which can, again, there's an in-between that, you know what, I would say, to tell you the truth, I think most people are going to take, and this is just because people like rules of thumb, right? So I think most people, by the time they are, I'm going to say 8 to 10 weeks post-contest, right around that point is where I would like to see them at or approaching, actually I would like to see them at, in most cases, approaching their lower end set point. So again, going too fast, gaining 30 pounds in a month's time, I've had guys that have done it both ways. They felt that when they gained all this weight, they were back to normal. And the truth is, once we kind of did it the right way, we found that middle ground. They're like, holy crap. Regardless if I gain 30, 40, 50 pounds after my show, the weeks and months after my show, it still takes me a while to get mentally better. So again, it's going to take time, and you just kind of sort of have to understand that. And I think once you've competed a few times, you're going to see that most of us, have a different. We recover differently. I have guys such as, for example, Kevin Riley, who just actually recovers like that, and he's back to being a bodybuilder. And priority number one is really going to the gym and not eating these 8-pound salads. And he's a bodybuilder again and not an eater. So recovery time is very personal. Kevin Riley is pretty much almost overnight, and then you have someone like Coach Eric Helms. And Eric Helms not only takes more than a month, but I think it was about 5-6 months before he actually started feeling like, okay, I'm starting to make up new ground. I'm starting to go to places that I've never been before with my off season. So again, it's a very personal thing. Some of us recover a little better than others after a prep. But here's one thing, is the longer you do this and you find less invasive ways to get into contest shape, one thing you're going to notice is that your recovery times just significantly shrink. So my first contest season, I think it was about 2-3 months before I felt like I was normal again. And then this last one, to tell you the truth, within 2 to 3 weeks, and mind you, I was eating up the weeks leading into it, so I had done a lot of my rebuilding already, but without getting to my low end set point. By 2-3 weeks post-show, I was actually back to being more excited about my training than my pre and post workout meal. So again, it's going to take time, and the longer we do this, we're going to figure out craftier ways of getting into contest shape. Alright guys, so a little jumbled, but here we go. So why is it that we aim for the lower end of our set point? because once we've reached our established set point, you can assume that we can make gains again. All right, and again, it's not until you are hormonally normal, which again, that's part of doing this the natural way, is that your body takes a bigger hit when you're dieting, and you have to again just reach those hormonal baselines again before you're actually progressing. And again, we don't want to gain too fast so that we get to the midpoint or the high midpoint of our set point, and we don't really have a gaining phase it's all that long. So because I sneaked my way into my low end set point this last time I prepped, I think I ended up spending, I'd say, almost a year and a half of doing nothing but gaining. I never had to go back and undo. It was nothing but slow, continuous gaining for an extended period of time. Because again, if you're doing this the natural way, you really can only gain so much muscle per year, per month, per week, per day. It really depends on where you're at in the stages of your development and your genetics, but you're not going to gain any faster by going faster. Okay? So, again, we aim for that low end set point, because once we get to that point, it's like, okay, I can start progressing. I'm recovering the way I'm used to, not so food focused anymore. And priority number one when it comes to bodybuilding is being a better bodybuilder, and not bowls of oatmeal. So by getting to our lower end set point, we're able to just really start gaining. And remember, I'm a fan of gaining nice and slow, especially if you're a competitive bodybuilder, because again, your success as a natural bodybuilder, we talked about, finding craftier, better, more efficient ways of getting into contest prep. So much of it relies on your starting point. Okay, guys, they start their pre-contest diets anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds over contest weight. They're more likely to get peeled, and it be a little bit more comfortable than the guy who starts 30 or 40, and not just more comfortable, but more likely to get there. So again, we aim for the lower end set point so that we can just slowly start gaining from there, and we can gain for a very long time and not have to spend too much time dieting things off, and then finally being able to earn the right to gain again. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, when it comes to these recovery diets, priority number one is just getting back to normal. It's not running around peeled for an extended period of time, but just getting back to the body builder and not the food eater. So that's it, guys. A few more of these to come. Thank you very much for your questions, support, and again, just overall the vibe and the people we get floating through this channel. It's got a very positive vibe to it. So that's definitely something that doesn't go recognized. So that's it from me, guys. A little longer than I wanted it to be, but hey, for those who really need it, I think you guys will hopefully get something from this.